everybody, my name is Mr. Francy and welcome back to Mr. Francy Reads. Today we are doing another reading vlog. This one is going to be spanning from the 9th to the 15th inclusive of April 2022. So I have 3 books to talk to you all about, but I just want to give you all a bit of a heads up. I planned during the course of this week to read this book, Crime and Punishment by, is that what it's called? No, Crime and Poetry. Crime and Poetry by Amanda Flower, book number 1 in the, Magic Booktown mystery series. However, I don't know if it's my account or how things are going with Scribd, but this book was not available for me this week and apparently won't be available for me until tomorrow. So I'll see if it's available then. But at the moment, this book is shelved within the confines of my TBR until the audiobook is available. But otherwise, I got to where I need to and I replaced that book with another one that was on my TBR. So let's jump in and talk all the books that I have read during the course of this week's reading. So the first book that I read this week was this book, The Red Scrolls of Magic by Cassandra Clare and Wesley Chu. This is book number 1 in the Eldest Curses series, which is oh goodness, I just had the age rating in my mind. YA fantasy, and I gave this book 5 stars. So, okay. So before I tell you the premise of this book, I just want to remind everyone that I have read all of the books in the Mortal Instruments series and the first 2 books and then DNF the third in the Infernal Devices trilogy by Cassandra Clare. And so I'm doing a Cassandra Clare buddy read this year. Had read Mortal Instruments last year, but that's not the point. I'm going to read a lot of Cassandra Clare this year. And for the months of April and May, I want to read The Eldest Curses, but I was incredibly excited about starting this duology because it features as the headliner, as the main characters, arguably my favorite fictional couple of all time, which is Malik, that is the ship name, the combination of Alec Lightwood, and Magnus Bane. So, yeah, Malik. Anyway, doesn't matter. So this is book 1 in that duology. So the premise of this book is that Alec and Magnus are finally going on a well-deserved overdue vacation, a celebration of their undying love. First stop, Paris, but not long after they arrive, Tessa shows up to warn them of the Crimson Hand, a cult that apparently Magnus started, and it's now going wild. Magnus doesn't want this to interrupt Alec's vacation, but Alec wants nothing more than to be there by Magnus's side through what will surely be a tough journey. So comes forth the greatest fantasy duo of all time, Malik, to do what they do best, stop evil in its tracks, only this time guided by their love for one another. So to my thoughts of this book was seriously everything I needed and more. I have loved Malik ever since their first kiss and have been a hard shipper of them ever since. So to find a book where they both feature the main characters made me so happy. The book features fighting scenes, which honestly I would have preferred it to just be a romance, but I appreciate the motivations they had to defeat the evil they were facing. It was also part mystery, and when the mystery was revealed, I was shocked. It was a fantastic book, and I can't wait to read The Lost Book of the White. So yeah, ultimately I gave it 5 stars. I'm very much looking forward to reading The Lost Book of the White. So the book deserves 5 stars, and I'm going to give a bit of a con here of the book for me. It's just a personal con. Probably everyone else will love this about the book, but I just personally didn't. But it still deserves the 5 stars it got. Just give me a moment to say my con, okay? I'm just going to state my own opinion. peace here. Okay, so I love Malik. I could talk about them all day long. Alec and Magnus, I just think they're an amazing couple. I was hoping I was going to be reading a romance, but it wasn't a romance. It was a fantasy, and there were a lot of action scenes in the book. And that's fine, and it does make sense given the series where Magnus and Alec first met, the Mortal Instruments series, because there was a lot of fighting that went on in that book too. It's a fantasy world. It's a fantasy universe, after all, that Cassandra Clare is writing about, and not a romance one. But I would have been a lot more satisfied if this book was just a romance and Alec and Magnus went away on their holiday and nothing happened, nothing got in their way of their romance, and I would have just enjoyed that. But as I said in my thoughts and feelings section, I did appreciate the motivation to fight the forces of evil that they had. It was born out of their love for one another. Magnus doing what he needs to do from a place of, well, yeah, he needs to do this in order to clear his name, but Alec is doing it out of his sheer love and, love of Magnus. And so I really did appreciate that as well. Look, it was fantastic. It definitely deserved 5 stars. Another complaint that I do have about the book, however, was the length. I wish this one was a lot longer. We have very long books in the, Mortal Instruments series, as well as the Infernal Devices series. So I wish this one was longer too. I mean, come on. Now that I finally get a Malik book, can't it be longer? So yeah, I wish it was longer, because this one is, I'm just having a look here to see. It's, yeah, like not even 350 pages. Which the majority of Cassandra Clare's books are like 500 pages. So I don't know why this one had to be so short, but it is what it is. I don't know, and probably won't even research what role Wesley Chu plays in this book. I honestly don't know. But if you do, let me know in the comments below, because I'd be intrigued to know. I did a little bit of research and couldn't find an answer other than apparently he co-authored it with Cassandra Clare. But anyway, yeah, good book. I gave it 5 stars. So the next book that I picked up was this book, My Only Sunshine by M.J. Fleming. This is an adult thriller, and I gave this book a very disappointing 3 stars. So I went into this book under the impression that it was going to be an amazing thriller. And I mean, I've read one amazing thriller in my reading life, and I love that I have. Let's quickly put that one up on the screen, because that is an amazing thriller. The Woman Outside My Door by Rachel Ryan. This is an amazing thriller. If you want an amazing thriller, read that. But coming off of that, a lot of thrillers that I've read have absolutely paled in comparison, and my problem with that is, and I spoke about this with my genre hot takes video when it came to thrillers, is the purpose of a thriller is that it is a book that has been written with the sole purpose to thrill you. It is going to have you on the edge of your seat. Your heart is going to be racing while you read the book. If it doesn't do that for me, it is not a thriller. They're just saying it's a thriller because they don't know what the heck else to call it. Not only is this book categorized as an adult thriller, but I was also told it was an amazing thriller. No, I completely disagree. So let's get to the premise. I'm not trying to shape your thoughts and feelings on whether or not to pick up the book. I'm just giving you my own thoughts. You may pick up this book if you decide to and absolutely love it. I just personally didn't. So, okay. The basic premise of this book is that we follow Taylor. Now, as a child, Taylor was kidnapped and held hostage, experiencing abuse of all forms. In the present, she is now free, though is she really? Taylor only remembers about 20% of what happened while going through the abuse she experienced, and now with another child being kidnapped, presumably by the same guy, Taylor wants to work at remembering every vital detail, knowing that someone there might be, somewhere there might be a clue that helps them to find their currently kidnapped girl. But she also feels like she's being watched. Is she free, or is her kidnapper just biding his time? So, I need to impress upon you that while this is a thriller about a girl who has been kidnapped and has gone through many forms of abuse, the book opens up with with Taylor having already escaped her captor, and it's been a considerable amount of time since then. So we pick up with this book with her having already escaped and trying to recall everything that took place while she was being kidnapped. To me, that didn't make it a thriller. To me, it would have been a better choice, and this is just my opinion, so everyone's different, but to me it would have been a better choice of MJ Fleming's to open up the book with Taylor while she's kidnapped. That would have been more thrilling. You know, that would have been more heart-racing, like, how will she escape this? It doesn't seem to be anywhere way out. Let's try and find a way out of this. But she's already technically free. As I said, with the premise of the book, you know, she's free, but is she really? And it even says on the book, she's escaped, but is she free? Technically, she has escaped. So technically, she is free. And there's nothing thrilling about her being free. So I don't get how that's a thriller. A mystery, absolutely a mystery, because she's trying to uncover the majority of her memories, but a thriller, I personally think not. But anyway, to my thoughts on this book. This book was tough for me to get through, not because of the subject matter, but because it's a book that feels like it's leading up to something all the way through. I nearly DNF'd this book because nothing was happening, and was even prepared to consider it a misgenred, hard-hitting contemporary. But then the ending happened. Keeping it spoiler-free, one, we get a reveal in the climax, but I'd already suspected that reveal, so it didn't shock me at all. The rest of the climax was rather anticlimactic for an adult thriller, and wasn't worth the read for me. Now, on an audiobook note, Murphy Napier actually narrated the audiobook, and it must be said that she did a good job. I liked her as a narrator, and this review is not in any way a slight on Murphy. I just didn't find the book thrilling enough for me, or more to the point, it felt like a thrilling fake-out than actually thrilling, which makes for a cheap thriller to my mind. There's meant to be a book 2, but this one was released years ago, so I don't think there will be. Even if there was, I probably wouldn't read it. If you're not triggered by abuse and you want a soft thriller, this may be enough for you. But I like for my thrillers to be thrilling, and this one just wasn't. I gave it 3 stars, and the reason for that comes back to 2 plot points. The memories she got back. So when Taylor starts uncovering some of her memories, I did find that to be thrilling. So I wanted to give a fair representation for my star rating. While for the majority of the first 4/5 of this book, I found it to be a tantalizing lead up to something that was never going to happen. And that was literally how it was in my mind. It wasn't, this is a tantalizing lead up to something. It was, this is a tantalizing lead up to something that I'm guessing is not even going to happen. And why we do, anyway, I don't know. But when she was getting her memories back, the memories were very much, the memories had my heart racing, and I was on the edge of my seat, with her recalling, suddenly recalling things that had happened, for her while she was going through that experience. So, yes, that's a thriller. I mean, again, I was saying this earlier, if it was a hard-hitting contemporary, yeah, I probably would have given it a better rating, maybe 3.5 or 4. But for a thriller, it just wasn't thrilling. all the way through. And so just little moments here and there, to me, does not a thriller make. To you it may, but to me it doesn't. And the second reason why it actually got 3 stars was because of the climax. As soft as it was better than the rest of the book. So, yeah, the climax was actually good. And I wish that I wish we could have cut out a lot of the first part of this book and expanded upon the climax, because the climax showed me what MJ Fleming can do, and the memory recollection showed me what MJ Fleming can do. But the rest of the book just was a total letdown for me, which is really sad, because I've been wanting to read this book for 3 years because I've been told it's such an amazing thriller, and it's not. I feel like the butt of some joke here, and I'm not trying to be mean to MJ Fleming. I'm just stating my opinion. You'll know that I'm transparent here, and I give you my opinion. You may have read this book and loved it. You might pick it up based on my recommendation to see what you think and love it. But in my opinion, this was not thrilling, and I took my star rating out on it. 3 stars from me. So next up, I planned to read Crime and Poetry by Amanda Flower, but because the audiobook wasn't available, I needed to pick up something else, so I decided to jump right ahead and jump into a book that had me very excited, also for 3 years, which was this book, Neverworld Wake by Marisha Pessl. Okay. So much for me to unpack with this. I just finished this moments before I began this review, so I may have more thoughts during my monthly wrap, but for where things sit right now, having freshly come off this book, let's see what I thought. So this is a young adult mystery, and I ended up giving this book 4.5 stars. It is important for you to know that I went into this book thinking it was a thriller. It's not. It's a mystery. Now, knowing that it's a mystery, I can honestly say I enjoyed the book. So, yeah, I think, and I don't remember exactly, but I think in my April TBR, I said that this is an adult thriller or something. I honestly don't even know. But anyway, it's a YA mystery. Had I gone into this book knowing it was a YA mystery, I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more, but because to me, I went in thinking it was an adult thriller, I was expecting to be thrilled, just like I was with My Only Sunshine, and I wasn't being thrilled by the book. But coming out of the book and then learning, no, it's a YA mystery, when I came out of the book thinking it was a thriller, and then thinking no, but they've again categorized it wrong because it's a mystery, and then finding out it actually is a mystery, boosted my rating that I gave this book, because for a mystery, it is a good book. So, let's talk about the premise. So, the premise of this book is that Beatrice and her former bandmates decide to get together. It'll be nice for them to catch up after a year of being apart, but Beatrice has an ulterior motive. She wants to know what really happened to her now dead boyfriend Jim. The circumstances surrounding his death seem suspicious, and she, for one, does not believe it was a suicide. The first night is one of catching up and seeing what everyone's been up to, but later that evening, a mysterious man comes to the door and tells everyone they're in a Neverworld wake. The day will continue to repeat until everyone can form a consensus and choose the one person they want to live. That person will live, the rest will die. Who will they choose, and who killed Jim? Only time will tell. So, to my thoughts, and because I thought it was a thriller, I felt let down while I was reading the book, and now I'm going back and rationalizing everything, thinking, okay, I did think this, but now knowing it was actually this, how do I feel? And I think had I read this book knowing it was a thriller, that's what I would have given it. I would have given it 4.5 stars. I think the mystery aspect was really good. The trying to work out who, well, not who, because it was more what happened to Jim. Excuse me. What happened to Jim? really did intrigue me. Beatrice's boyfriend, who's now dead. So yeah, everyone assumed it was a suicide. Even the cops put it down to a suicide. Beatrice thinks it's more. I found that mystery to be intriguing. I found the idea of the Neverworld Wake, the fantastical element, to be incredibly intriguing. I'm someone who loves the day repeating over and over again trope, so I did very much enjoy that. The day, if you're not someone who does not like a day repeating over and over again as a trope, don't read this book, because this is probably the most I've seen a day repeat over and over again in any book that I've read with that trope. But I love that trope, so it worked really well for me. So on the fantastical side of the Neverworld Wake, I loved it. One thing that I criticize with Marisha Pessl, and I say that neutrally, not in an offensive way, but in a neutral way, is the voting aspect of the Neverworld Wake. I, again, went into this book thinking it was going to be something, and it ended up being something else, which I don't know. But anyway, I went into this book knowing that the voting was ultimately what was going to break the Neverworld Wake. There were things I knew. So I'd heard a premise of this book stated before. And so the idea that voting was going to break the cycle of the Neverworld Wake, and that's not a spoiler, because we learn this very early on. It's part of the rules. The gentleman who goes to the place that they're at to explain that they're in the Neverworld Wake explains this to them right away. So we know this very early on, definitely not a spoiler. What got to me about it was the fact that they are voting for the person who's going to survive. Now, maybe I just like a bit of darkness in my books. I don't know what it is. I really enjoyed The Awakening and As Told by the Boys. And I'm not saying that I'm not someone who doesn't like lightness in books. I do. I'm a very eclectic reader. But when I go into a book thinking it's going to be a thriller, of course I expect for there to be darkness in the book. I just think it would have added a whole lot more to the tone if the voting situation wasn't, let's vote for who you think should survive the Neverworld Wake, but rather, let's vote for who you think shouldn't survive the Neverworld Wake. And then we can do a number of rounds of voting throughout the book, and one by one, we lose a person who goes on to, it's a fantastical world, so who goes on to the afterlife. And so I just thought that would have been more interesting, because when I found out that it was actually, no, you need to vote for the one person who survives, I then thought, oh, okay. Not knowing it was a mystery. I thought, oh, okay, we're going to spend the rest of this book just basically having everyone try and work out who should survive. And it's going to take a long time, and we're going to experience the day repeating over and over again, where my thought was more, you'll vote off someone that you don't think deserves to survive. Then the day repeats again. And then at the end of that day, you'll vote off the next person you don't think, it should survive. And then the day will repeat again. You'll vote off the next person. And that's what I expected. I didn't get that. And so I was disappointed that that's not what happened. But in saying that, the fact that there was a mystery in this book that I didn't expect there to be was intriguing, and Marisha Pessl did that incredibly well, so I did appreciate that. All in all, as a mystery, I thought it was a good book. As I said, I gave it 4.5 stars. As a thriller, it wasn't great, but it's not a thriller, so, what can I say? I think that if you like mysteries and you don't mind the added element of the Neverworld Wake, where, again, it's not a spoiler, I can tell you this, it is Neverworld Wake, you're no longer alive, you're in a situation where you're basically in limbo, where the day is going to repeat over and over and over again until everyone comes together and forms a consensus and votes for one person to survive, and everyone else will move on to the afterlife. If you don't mind that and you love mysteries, then I recommend the book, because the mystery was really, really good. So I gave it 4.5 stars because the beginning was really hard for me to get into. I had to get used to Marisha, I can't say her name. I'm struggling. Marisha Pessel's writing style took me a little bit to get used to, and I wasn't immediately captivated by the characters. I didn't find myself invested in them for a little while into the book. So because of that, I took off 0.5 stars. I like to be invested in my characters pretty quickly. Ultimately, I did become invested in the majority of the characters in the book. So I'm not saying that Marisha Pessel didn't do great character work. She did. It's just, it took me a long time to get invested in them. But yeah, all in all, 4.5 stars, and I do recommend it. If you like a good mystery and you're okay with that fantasy element of the Neverworld Wake, I do recommend it. I think it's a good book. Alright, so let's talk about what I plan to read in the upcoming week. Okay, so the next book I'm going to pick up will be this book, which is Apple Cider Slaying by Julie Ann Lindsay. This is book number 1 in the Cider Shop Mystery series. I am very much looking forward to reading this book. I loved the book, the series that Julie Ann Lindsay wrote under the pen name of Jacqueline Frost, the Christmas Tree Farm series. So I want to read more of her works, and I'm very excited to do that. Once I'm done with that book, hopefully this book, Crime and Poetry by Amanda Flower, will actually be available for me. And if it is, I will then read that book. And then after that book, so this is a cozy week, which is interesting. I will then pick up this book, which is Death of a Christmas Caterer by Lee Hollis. I'm reading this as a buddy read. We're doing a, Haley Powell Food and Cocktail mystery series buddy read. I did not like book 4. I'm hoping this book 5, helps to bounce the series back. So we'll see how things go. I very much want to read Crime and Poetry this week. The only thing I'm unsure of is when I'll read Crime and Poetry, because I'm waiting for the audiobook to be available for that one. But yeah, it's Cozy Week that Mr. Francy reads. It's unintentionally Cozy Week, but it's Cozy Week nonetheless. Apple Cider Slaying, Crime and Poetry, and Death of a Christmas Caterer. Time will tell which ones I like, which ones I don't like, which ones I think were amazing, which ones I've regretted reading, and all of that. So, anyway, what did you read this week? Let me know in the comment section below. But in the meantime, that is where I am going to leave it, letting you all go with peace, blessings, and so much love. Please do be kind and love one another, and spread your sparkling energy all throughout the world. And until next time, happy reading. Bye, everyone.